Professor?
Right.
It's done. It's a wrap. Oh, that's the best I'm ever going to do. Got it, Professor?
Right.
It's done. It's a wrap.
From a distance, the world looks blue and green, and the snow-capped mountains white. From a distance, the ocean meets the stream, and the eagle takes to flight.
From a distance there is harmony, and it echoes through the land.
It's the
Voice of hope,
It's the
voice of peace,
It's the voice
watching us. God is watching us.
God is watching us from a distance. From a distance, you look like my friend, even though we are at war. From a distance, I just can't comprehend what all this fighting's for.
From a distance there is harmony, and it echoes through the land.
It's the
Hope of hopes,
it's the
love of loves,
it's the heart of every man. It's the hope of hopes. It's the love of love. It's the song of every man.
and God is watching us. God is watching us.
God is watching us from a distance.
God is watching us. God is watching.
God is watching us from a distance.
Thank you, Michiko. A beautiful remembrance. Good morning. Welcome to Cedar Lane Unitarian Universalist Congregation, a community where love works. I'm Abhi Janamanchi. My pronouns are he and him. One of the ministers serving this religious community with my colleagues, the Reverend Ali Casey Bell and the Reverend Dana Edwards. I am a short, cisgender Indian male in his 50s with dark hair and a graying mustache. And today I'm wearing a purple shirt and purple vest with a rainbow chalice pin and blue pants. This morning we gather as we have gathered for 72 years on the ancestral lands of the Nacotchtank people, part of the Piscataway group of tribes, and on the land on which enslaved African people and their descendants labored and lived without choice or reward. We honor the land and the people who have protected it for generations. We gather from many different rooms, arriving from many different places and spaces. Whoever you are, whomever you love, whatever your beliefs, your sexual orientation, gender identity, documentation status, and disability, and wherever you're joining us from, in person or at home, you are welcome to bring your whole self here. I extend a warm welcome to our visitors, especially our first-time visitors. If you are here in person and feel comfortable doing so, please raise your hand as we have a small gift for you. You're also welcome to raise your hand if you're still feeling new in this space. And we will still honor you with a small gift. And if you are joining us online, please share in the chat where you are joining us from. Let us give everyone a warm Cedar Lane welcome. Thank you for taking the time and taking the risk to join us for worship, and sometimes it is a risk to head out on a Sunday morning and show up here, of all places. So we're glad you're here. I also would like to invite you all to stay after service for some fellowship and coffee and tea and some delicious scones. Yes, I mean, right. Who doesn't like scones? Thank you, Betsy Devlin Foles, for your coffee ministry, and Lisa Chernikoff and the scones team for providing us with these delicious scones. Yes, we are deeply grateful for your seeking to help us embody being a food-based religion. Thank you. I digress very easily, so please bear with me. If you'd like to know more about why Unitarian Universalism is a food-based religion, or how to get involved in this congregation to support being a food-based religion, please fill out the newcomer form that is being linked in the chat, or return it to one of our greeters. Also, our weekly e-newsletter is a great way to stay updated about all the happenings at Cedar Lane, and you can sign up through our website, cedarlane.org. Our pastoral visitors are an extension of our ministry team. Kay Gottesman is our pastoral visitor here today. She's available to support you in person, and we also have some pastoral visitors online. Thank you, Kay, for your ministry. And now let us center ourselves bringing our mind, body, and spirit more fully into the space made sacred by our presence and the presence of the holy in which we live, move, breathe, and have our being. With these words from the Sufi mystic Baba Afzal Kashani.
Come. Come back. Come back, repent, and come back again. Come, come, whoever you are, infidel, fire worshiper, idol worshiper, come. Be not hopeless in our court. Even if you've broken your vows 100 times, come, come again. Hello. I'm David Devlin Foltz, the worship associate for today's service. My pronouns are he, him. I am a short, white, cisgender male in my late 60s, wearing a sky blue polo shirt and blue jeans. I have glasses, brown hair, and a sparse and graying beard. As Tim Eastman and Carolyn Brown come forward to kindle the chalice, please share in the chat where you are lighting your chalice from, and here, please rise in body and or in spirit to share the chalice lighting words on the screen. We kindle the chalice, symbol of our faith, and as our gathered community, with this light, we place in this vessel our common hopes, our shared dreams, our mutual commitment to welcome the stranger, to practice hospitality, to be a beloved community and a world made whole. Please remain as you are, and let us sing hymn number 1008 in the Teal hymnal, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place. There are a few things to lift up this morning.
First, a few construction updates. The new social hall is coming together really well. Yes. And if you haven't had a chance, just take a peek inside after the service and see the transformation that is happening and the new social hall that is emerging. Most of the glass has been installed in the back glass doors, and you will also be able to see the deck that's being built. And of course, if you go outside, you'd be able to get a much better view of all that from the outside as well. And right now, and in upcoming weeks, the focus is going to be on some essential things like plumbing, the fire alarm and electrical work that is being done over there. And we will be continuing to worship in the sanctuary in this space, which is great. You know, it really has a certain feel that makes it more real to us, right? And I was observing on Labor Day weekend, it felt so right to observe Labor Day in this sanctuary. I mean, look at that thing that's hanging behind David, that cable, this floor, all this beautiful stuff, Anyway, that'll continue, and we'll be here until mid-October when we will move into the chapel, and we're hoping to have 2 services once we move into the chapel, but all those details will come later. But for now, we're here, we're glad to be here, and grateful to the contractor, Whitener and Jackson, who've been doing an amazing job staying on course and on schedule with the many things that are happening around campus. We're grateful to them. Also, relating to the construction, our religious education faith formation programming has started today. Yay! And we have a whole bunch of children and youth who have registered. I think close to 70 or 75 have already registered, which is great, and they're already meeting in both the Chalice House across the way and downstairs. Some of the classrooms have been adapted to be able to have Sunday school programming. So really excited to kick off the new congregational year with some wonderful faith formation programming. If you haven't registered your children or youth, you can still do so. We appreciate your taking a moment to do that. And speaking of children and youth and adults, see that beautiful mural? This was created last Sunday. Beautiful, depicting Cedar Lane where love works. It's a lovely piece to cover up that beautiful plywood. So thank you everyone who contributed to this beautiful artwork. And if you have been attending Cedar Lane for a while and now feel moved to join this quirky religious community as a member, we are quirky at times. At least I think so. That's what got me here. We will have a member signing after the service right here in the sanctuary. Please see me and Nicole Singer, our membership engagement coordinator. We would love to have you join this religious community. A celebration of life service for longtime member Margaret Levchenko will be held next Saturday, September 23rd at 3 p.m. in the sanctuary. And next Sunday, September 24th, join us for the pagan celebration of Mabon, the equinox, at 9:30 a.m. in the bench circle outside. And last but not least, we have a banned books festival that is being co-sponsored by the Potomac Partnership congregations, Cedar Lane, River Road UU, and UU Fairfax, happening the last weekend in September 30th and October 1st. We're excited to be involved in this partnership, and A wonderful program is being put together for Saturday at River Road, which will include a keynote from Representative Jamie Raskin. And then on Sunday morning, we will have worship here on that theme. And I will be joined by Phyllis Naylor, who is a well-known author and a member of Cedar Lane, and she will be sharing the pulpit with me. And on Sunday afternoon, October 1st, there will be additional programming at UU Fairfax. You can find more information in our e-news, and would love to have you register and attend this important gathering. And now, let us move into the space of naming and sharing the joys and sorrows of our community and beyond.
Let us center ourselves and enter into this moment, calling upon all the sources of love that are within, among, and around us. We lift up those in our community who are living through significant passages, the small and extraordinary milestones of life. We pause to be present to our spiritual companions and to the concerns of our own hearts. Within our Cedar Lane community, we hold in our hearts those who are mourning a deep loss and those whose lives have passed who still enrich us. Those for whom parenting is a spiritual practice. Those who live with or care for someone with grief or chronic pain. We send healing wishes to those struggling with illnesses seen and unseen, with mental illness or addictions. Our caring extends beyond Cedar Lane to others whose lives are lost and whose lives are impacted by war, violence, and calamities in our nation and in our world. And today we lift up those suffering the unimaginable tragedies caused by floods in Libya and the earthquakes in Morocco. In both countries, these events have called forth the love and generosity of ordinary fellow citizens, coming forward to comfort neighbors and strangers. They inspire our hearts as well. May these friends of ours, our companions in the world, and all the joys and sorrows we hold in our hearts, be held in the embrace of meditation and silence.
Let us quiet ourselves in this time. Bringing our mind, body, and spirit into this space. Resting our feet on the floor. Feeling the energy and the nurture of Mother Earth, who holds and sustains us all. Close your eyes if you're comfortable. And as you go deeper within to that place of silence and honesty, love and compassion, take a deep, refreshing breath. Breathe in through your nose and hold it for a moment. And breathe out from your heart through your mouth. Let us take a breath together, breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in, I am here now. Breathing out, I smile. Breathing in, I inhale peace. Breathing out, I exhale love. Let us continue to be held by this silence. Let us not push out random thoughts and casual noises, but rather let them be, that the silence living in our hearts might speak louder than any sound we may find intrusive. Would you join me in the spirit of prayer, reflection, or meditation? Nameless one of many names and beyond all naming, source of our lives and all life, we pause amidst the busyness of our lives for a few moments in the midst of our religious community. We reflect upon the stirrings of our hearts, thankful for the love we receive, glad for the love we may offer. May we thoughtfully attend to whatever deep yearnings we feel there. And may we know the peace and strength that grows as a broken heart is mended. We reflect upon the words of our mouths, thankful for whatever wisdom may have come our way, glad for the kind words of others. May we strive to speak our words with compassion and caring, and may we know the humility and courage to admit where we have missed the mark, where we have been wrong. We reflect upon the effects of our deeds, thankful for the opportunities to be of service to one another, glad for the moments when such kindness is returned. May we seek to add our portion of justice and equity to the world around us. May we know the blessing of living justly, loving kindly, and moving humbly along our ways. May we give our hearts, our mouths, and our deeds evermore in service to the love that will not let us go, let us down, or let us off the hook. In the name of all that is holy and life-giving and life-affirming, we say, Shalom, Salam, Om Shanti, Amen, Ashe, Blessed be. As we enter the silence together, you are invited to rise in body and or in spirit and speak the names of the loved ones that you're holding in remembrance or care, or share their names in the chat. Let us be in silence together. Jahnavi. Pat Carlson. Margaret Levchenko. Brian McLaughlin. May it be so. Every Sunday, we give and receive an offering to sustain the mission and ministry of our congregation, Cedar Lane, and in support of an organization that is in alignment with our mission. It's the time in our flow of our morning celebration when we, as members and friends, offer our gifts of substance to the circle of our mutual benefit, for a congregation is the community of the people who agree to make it, not some abstraction far away. And so when we give, we receive too. For all good gifts make a circle and come back round again and again. Today we share the plate with 350 MoCo, an environmental organization which is a group of citizens working on solutions to our climate crisis right here in Montgomery County. 350 MoCo advocates for safe and renewable gardening, identifying and promoting green transportation solutions. They are a part of a larger effort to identify harmful gas leaks and working to lessen the usage of fossil fuels and reducing carbon emissions in our homes. They're doing important, critical work as we continue to live in this climate emergency. And we are honored to be able to support 350 MoCo in all their efforts. Thank you for your generosity and support, which you can do in so many different ways that I don't have to list them all. And however you choose to give, we are grateful. Our offering will now be given and gratefully received.
From far away and distant lands, the tempest tossed with hopeful hearts and calloused hands, reached for the light, the torch held high, and cast their gaze upon the Lady of the Harbor. And she welcomes them with open arms. She says, "Let my children in." Shine on, shine on, oh, you Lady of the Harbor. And so it was with my own kin. They sailed from Sweden and from France and Ireland. Their earthly cares packed in their bags, they cast their gaze upon the Lady of the Harbor. And she welcomed them with open arms. She said, "Let my children in." Shine on, shine on, oh, you Lady of the Harbor. Now we're locking down the borders and we're filling up the jails, and we say they don't belong. How conveniently do we forget that we've all come to sing the same sweet song? Will the dream survive the strain? Will huddled masses have a chance to learn its sweet refrain? Or will it fall into our ears and turn our backs against the Lady of the harbor, and she welcomes them with open arms. She says, let my children in. Shine on, shine on, oh you lady of the harbor. Shine on, shine on, oh you lady of the harbor. Oh you lady of the harbor.
Thank you, Libby. The words of the Reverend Lynn Unger, the work of our hands and the work of our lives, our love is made real. May we be grateful for all that we bring and share to make this a beloved community. Wandering around the Albuquerque airport terminal, writes Palestinian-American poet Naomi Shihab Nye, after learning my flight had been delayed 4 hours, I heard an announcement. If anyone in the vicinity of gate A4 understands any Arabic, please come to the gate immediately. Well, one pauses these days. Gate A4 was my own gate. I went there. An older woman in full traditional Palestinian embroidered dress, just like my grandma wore, was crumpled to the floor wailing, "Help." The flight agent said, "Help, talk to her. What is her problem? We told her the flight was going to be late, and she did this." So I stooped to put my arm around the woman and spoke haltingly. "Shudowa shubdik habibit, sanishwe min fadlik shubit sevi." The minute she heard any word she knew, however poorly used and pronounced, she stopped crying. She thought the flight had been canceled entirely. She needed to be in El Paso for major medical treatment the next day. I said, "No, we're fine. You'll get there just later." "Who's picking you up? Let's call him." So we called her son. I spoke with him in English. I told him I would stay with his mother till we got on the plane and ride next to her. She talked to him. Then we called her other sons just for the fun of it. Then we called my dad. And he and she spoke for a while in Arabic and found out, of course, they had 10 shared friends. Then I thought, just for the heck of it, why not call some Palestinian poets I know and let them chat with her? This all took up 2 hours. She was laughing a lot by then, telling me of her life, patting my knee, answering questions. She even pulled a sack of homemade mamoul cookies, little powdered sugar, crumbly mounds stuffed with dates and nuts, from her bag, and was offering them to all the women at the gate. All the women at the gate. To my amazement, not a single woman declined one. It was like a sacrament. The traveler from Argentina, the mom from California, the lovely woman from Laredo, we were all covered with the same powdered sugar and smiling. There is no better cookie. And then the airline broke out free apple juice from huge coolers, and 2 little girls from our flight ran around serving it, and they were covered with powdered sugar. And I noticed my new best friend, by now we were holding hands, had a potted plant poking out of her bag, some medicinal thing with green furry leaves. Such an old country tradition. Always carry a plant. Always stay rooted to somewhere. And I looked around that gate of late and weary ones, and I thought, this is the world I want to live in. The shared world. Not a single person in that gate, once the crying of confusion stopped, seemed apprehensive about any other person. They all took the cookies. I wanted to hug all those other women too. This can still happen anywhere. Not everything is lost.
Do not leave your cares at the door. Do not leave them there when you come into this place. Be open to forgiveness and transformation. Come on in, you are welcome here. And do not leave your cares at the door. Bring your pain and sorrow and joy. There's a place for them upon the altar of life. Be open to forgiveness and transformation. Come on in, you are welcome here. And do not leave your cares at the door. This is a place of grace, a place of losing and finding a way upon the winding road, meeting and parting, stumbling and starting over. Oh, every starting and sacred hymn, even goes. Even yours. So come on in and do not leave your cares at the door. Do not leave them there when you come into this place. Be open to forgiveness and transformation. Come on in, you are welcome here. And do not leave your cares at the door. Amen. Amen. Amen.
Wow. Beautiful. Thank you, members of the choir and Libby, for that beautiful anthem from Elizabeth Alexander. Wow. So there's a UU joke. There are many UU jokes, but there's this particular UU joke goes that while most religions mainly focus on all saints, Unitarian Universalism welcomes all sorts. Right. Well, that line did draw a chuckle, which is what I was hoping for indeed we are an unconventional crew of odd ducks. of religious hybrids, theological crossbreeds, and spiritual mutts. Aren't we? Yeah, and here we celebrate those terms. And we like it that way. And a healthy faith can poke fun at itself rather than take itself too seriously. And yet, labeling us all sorts misses our unswerving commitment to being a faith of all souls as well. You see, our Unitarian Universalist faith aspires to be a religion of universal embrace, of radical inclusion and hospitality. We are committed to being a welcoming community where all souls are welcome. And this conviction to be a welcoming community comes out of our first principle, the inherent worth and dignity of every person, which actually is the cornerstone upon which our theology of hospitality is built and sustained. And yet, we Unitarian Universalists are more human than otherwise, and we have the same challenges that other human beings have. In that, we tend to feel more comfortable with people we know, with people who look like us, who think like us, who live like us, who share the same politics. We habitually leave someone out of our caring circle of community. Not intentionally, but it still happens. And in an effort to live into the spiritual imperative of hospitality, we must regularly ask ourselves, who's not here but might be? Who's being left out of our circle of caring? What perspective, insight, action has trouble being heard or accepted here? We do this, to quote Reverend Tom Owen Toole, not out of a need to convert or attract more members, but out of a mandate to converse. Now, most every prominent world religion has announced, has proclaimed that hospitality is a core religious value. So we don't have the copyright on radical hospitality, just to be clear. And it is an ancient religious virtue, an ancient spiritual practice. The Quran tells us that we should serve God and do good to orphans, those in need, neighbors who are near, neighbors who are strangers, the companion by your side, the wayfarer that you meet, and those who have nothing. Surah 4, Ayah 36. And the Torah tells us, the strangers who sojourn with you shall be to you as the natives among you, and you shall love them as yourself, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. Leviticus 19, 33, 34. And in the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus asks us to welcome the stranger, for what you do to the least of my brethren, you do unto me. Matthew 25, 40. And the Hindu Upanishads say, Atidhi Devo Bhava. The guest, the stranger, is God. Simple, clear. Now, the point that runs through all these religious injunctions and scriptural injunctions is clear. Hospitality, providing welcome and care for others, especially strangers, is a moral imperative. And so in the conduct of our lives as individuals, we should discipline ourselves to be kind, generous, compassionate, solicitous, and welcoming of newcomers, strangers, the other, persons from beyond our immediate family circles who need our protection, warmth, resources, shelter, and companionship because of our essential human connection with others, especially our neighbors. But who is our neighbor? In the Gospel of Luke, when a lawyer asks Jesus the same question, he responds, of course, with the parable of the Good Samaritan. A man going from Jerusalem to Jericho is attacked by robbers who strip him and beat him and leave him on the roadside. A priest and a Levite pass by without helping him. But a Samaritan who is passing by stops and cares for him, tending and bandaging his wounds, and then takes him to an inn where he pays for his care. So Jesus asked the lawyer which of these three was a neighbor to the man who was beaten and robbed, and the lawyer replies, the one who had mercy on him, to which Jesus responds, go and do likewise. Go and do likewise. Now, what Rabbi Jesus did with this simple story was to turn the whole idea of neighbor upside down. Now, he had a way of doing that, right? Really upsetting people's conventional notions and ideas. A neighbor is not necessarily someone who lives nearby. A neighbor is not necessarily someone of the same tribe or clan or ethnic group. A neighbor is not necessarily someone with the same political, cultural, or religious background. No. According to Jesus, a neighbor is anyone who is willing to show us mercy. Moreover, loving someone else in Jesus' terms has nothing to do with any sort of feelings we have towards them. It has to do with commitment. No matter what our feelings are, we make a commitment to act on the basis of love. It is the action, not the feeling, that matters. A couple of weeks ago, someone asked me that question about how do we deal with MAGA Republicans? And I talked about loving our neighbor as ourselves and pointing out, as Dr. King pointed out, that you don't have to like someone to love someone. Right? You don't have to like your neighbor even if their dog does its business all over your front yard, but you still get to love them. The Reverend Rosemary Rocha, a UCC minister, tells a story that bears on the meaning of this commitment to love our neighbor, even if we don't like them. She recounts, Larry was 85 years old and a member of the first church I served. He was a curmudgeon, as they say. He challenged everything I tried to do and consistently made things difficult for me. One day, a rumor began circulating that he was going to leave the church. So the church moderator, the board president, asked me to talk with him. I did not want to. I told her of all the ways that he had been mean to me and had made my life miserable. She listened, and when I was done ranting, she spoke, you know, you don't have to like him, but you do have to love him. And she continues, I hate it when church folk get you at your own game. So I thought about it, called Larry, and while I never really liked him, I tried to be loving to him. He stayed at the church, and I have always been grateful to that moderator who pushed me to be faithful to the story behind the words of love. Now, what applies to us ministers also applies to you, the congregation. Radical hospitality is a spiritual practice that we are all charged to practice. Yes, radical hospitality surely entails greeters and ushers and coffee and scones, name tags, orientation sessions, and new member recognitions. All of that and far more. It is an orientation of our being that sees everyone as a valued guest. Atidhi Devo Bhava. The guest is God. The Reverend Victoria Safford writes, William Ellery Channing, the 19th century Unitarian divine, said once in a sermon about slavery, "I am a living member of the great family of all souls." And sometimes I think the church has no greater purpose than to convince us all of that and to proclaim it to anyone who needs to hear it, which is everyone. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you come from, whatever your story, your gender identity, disability, or documentation status, she writes, you are a living member and your baby is a living member of the great family of all souls. She continues, it is so easy in this life to forget or never know at all that you absolutely belong. By definition, as a person, as a creature, you belong. Despite what you may have been told, despite your own doubts and suspicions, you have a place at the table. The universe is glad to see you. And she writes, in this congregation, we mean to be for each other as wide as each other extends, the ears and eyes, the welcoming voice, the incarnate, embodied, real, live embrace of the universe or God. I'm not sure that God has any other way of showing up except through us. And that, she says, is universalism. That is radical hospitality, and it extends to all of us, and it extends to everyone. It is a theological idea not unique to our tradition by any means, but it is central here. Radical means literally not wild, not crazy, but to the very root. Sometimes I think the religious, this congregation, has no greater purpose than to provide hospitality. Not only to the intellect, not only to the conscience, not only to the social animal in us, but also to the spirit, also to the soul. Now, you'd think that would be really obvious, right? But it is easy, friends, to forget. But we forget sometimes to say also or to hear also when most we need to hear it. This is a place where your soul is welcome. Your interior, authentic self, your deepest original soul, the spark of divinity within you that burns or flickers, is welcome. Your soul is welcome to sit down or wander or rest, no matter how weary or weepy or lost you are. This is a place where the soul may come out. What we mean by that is, whatever its condition, may the deepest, most authentic part of you be at home in this house. May the deepest, most authentic part of you be at home in this house. So when we talk about hospitality here, about radical hospitality that goes to the very root of who we are as a gathered religious community and what we are called to be, we mean that we will welcome not only each person, whoever they are, whatever their gifts, whatever their need, but each person in his or her or their need, but each person in his or her or their wholeness, his or her or their holiness, a holiness which may, in fact, in any moment be full of holes and contradictions, full of fear and brokenness and doubts. That's what we're trying to be and do here. Come in, we say, not just in the full flower of your thriving, but in your loneliness, your confusion, your anger, shame, despair, the unfinished, imperfect, holy wholeness of your being in all its glorious messiness. Your mess is your message. Right, Sri? Come in, we say, whoever you are. Infidel, fire worshiper, idol worshiper, atheist, agnostic, come in. Gay, lesbian, bisexual, trans, queer, come in. Black, brown, indigenous, white, come in. Documented or undocumented, disabled, come in. Come in. Not only with your all apparent accomplishments and strengths, even with those pesky vulnerabilities. Come in. Even if you have broken your vows 100 times, 1,000 times, come in. Come in. Now, these may in fact be revelations. They may be glimpses of whatever humanity we share. This house, our house, will hold them all, will hold us all. And so the invitation of radical hospitality applies to those who arrive at the door to our outer world in terms of people and experiences we may find difficult or challenging. But equally important, radical hospitality invites us to be changed within, which is where hospitality begins. That sometimes radical hospitality invites us to encounter, struggle, and wrestle with the stranger within ourselves first. The Sufi poet Jalaluddin Rumi writes about this inner guest house with its new arrival each day, including joy or sadness, anger or depression. Welcome them, he says, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. In many ways, this encountering the stranger and wrestling with the stranger is similar to what happened to Jacob on the banks of the river Jabbok. As the story goes, Jacob is returning to meet his brother Esau, whom he had cheated out of his birthright in his youth. He's anxious and fearful that his brother will still be angry and try to kill him. So the night before their encounter, he sneakily sends his family across the river, hoping that that would calm Esau down. And while Jacob sleeps alone by the river, he is accosted by a stranger who wrestles with him until dawn. And in the process, Jacob's hip is injured, and yet he is not defeated, but blessed and transformed with a new name, Israel. So Jacob walks away limping, confessing that he has seen God face to face. Jacob's story is our own story as well, for we all have moments when we wrestle with the stranger. Indeed, the beginning of all self-knowledge is the acknowledgement that we are strangers within ourselves, that we do not really know who we are, and such moments are important to our ethical life, for to be ethical requires that we be able to step outside of our own skin, to step back from ourselves and view our own lives and actions as if we were the other. The story of Jacob also suggests that what it means to live a life of faith in a pluralistic world. In a world of strangers, we should not expect to experience automatic harmony with our neighbors. When we encounter those whose thoughts are not our thoughts and whose ways are not our ways, we must expect conflict and the need to wrestle with one another. But winning in a wrestling match need not be a zero-sum game. Although Jacob was injured, he won, and yet the stranger was not defeated. And this is what we should expect. The encounter with the stranger can be a wounding experience, but it is a wounding that can heal and transform us, making us new beings. All this to say that we live in a world that desperately needs to hear words of welcome being spoken across dividing lines. It needs to see more examples of strangers being welcomed and loved as neighbors. Our world needs religious communities such as ours, responding to the call to practice radical hospitality. We are here to learn and to practice hospitality so that maybe if we can somehow get it right, at least here, some of the time, then just maybe we'll know more about how to practice it out there. And I know that when we actually take that risk, we will blunder, we will mess up, we will make mistakes. Believe me, I have blundered more than once. But when we take that risk, our lives will be so much richer and deeper because we have extended ourselves. And so, friends, as we begin a new congregational year, let us choose the blessed path of hospitality. Let us open our hearts, our minds, our hands, and our homes to welcome and love the stranger and friend alike. How can we do anything less? May it be so. Amen. And the people say, Amen. Amen. Please rise in body and/or in spirit to sing number 1023, Building Bridges.
I reach
Friends, we made such sweet harmony. Thank you. Our benediction is from the Reverend Bill Schultz. This is the mission of our faith, to teach and learn the fragile art of hospitality, to revere both the critical mind and the generous heart, to prove that diversity need not mean divisiveness, and to witness to all that we must hold the whole world in our hands. Go in peace, go making peace, living gently, loving fiercely, and bowing to the mystery.